Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody, and welcome to Pangolin, the Conservation Podcast, the show dedicated to exploring and amplifying the world's underappreciated conservation stories. The stories that inspire me, and I hope will inspire you too. I'm your host, Jack Baker, and today I am joined by the incredible Connor Davies, one of Bristol Zoo's engagement and learning presenters. He's here today to chat about youth empowerment, volunteering, and his pathway into conservation. We also discuss the future of Bristol Zoo, the Wild Place Project, and his favourite underrepresented species, the Desertas wolf spider. A somewhat spooky, but incredible, unique, and beautiful creature. It is also worth noting that this is the first part of a two-part special, and next week Connor will be back to discuss his inspiring work with the Chester Zoo Youth Board. Before I get ahead of myself though, thank you all so much for listening. And without further ado, let's get started. And welcome back to the show. I am now joined by Connor Davies, who is an engagement and learning presenter at Bristol Zoo, as well as a member of the Chester Zoo Youth Board. And he's here today to talk to us all about youth engagement in conservation. So to start off, thank you so much for being here, Connor.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Just to get us started, I wondered, could you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Who are you and why are you here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Connor. I work down in Bristol as part of Bristol Zoological Society. As Jack said, doing engagement and learning, so kind of delivering school workshops and helping to kind of introduce the public to conservation issues around the animals that we have at the collection. And I'm here to talk about youth engagement and kind of how to get young people really engaged and really kind of empowered to have their say and their voices heard within the conservation sector, which is something that's kind of, I think, has been lacking across the sector for quite a while now.
Perfect. That's, yes, I think a really good introduction and kind of sums up perfectly what we're going to be talking about, which is wonderful, because we have so many topics to cover, because I think youth engagement, it's such a big topic, and you have explored so many avenues of being a youth in conservation. I say that like I'm an old person, like you're we're about the same age, but like, yes, so there's lots to talk about. I'm really excited to get to talk about it with you. And I guess to get us started, we're going to go right back to the beginning, to when you first thought you wanted to be involved in conservation, because I guess that's something that comes to us all very young. And I want to know, what was the thing for you that made you want to be involved in conservation? What was that first inspiration for you?
I don't know. I feel like I'm quite unique among kind of, especially young people within conservation. I don't really have like a kind of formative memory where I remember going, oh no, this is when I knew. You know, I think everyone has that moment where they go, oh, I saw a baby polar bear and I was like, oh, I want to do this.
Listen to the show.
But like, I don't kind of have that memory. I just remember going to zoos kind of from a very young age. Like, I don't necessarily remember the things I saw there, or kind of like having a specific thing that I saw that made me go, oh, this is what I want to do. It's just kind of, that was kind of embedded within my life from such a young age. I think along the way I kind of picked up that message of, you know, these are the things that are out there. How can I have that impact and help those? So like from kind of when I was maybe 4 or 5, it was always, I want to be a zookeeper, which I think is how it always starts, isn't it? It's always, oh, I want to be a zookeeper. It's never, oh, I want to go up and like be a conservation educator. It always starts with the zookeeper, I feel. And then, right all the way up until I was in A-levels, when I started doing psychology at A-levels, and went, nah, I don't want to be a conservationist, I want to go and be a psychologist. And then got halfway through uni and went, what are you doing with your life? Why have you made this decision? Like, no offense to any psychologist, I absolutely loved it. I think it's really, really interesting. But yeah, I got halfway through second year and went, this isn't what I want to be doing. And it was kind of at that point when I went, actually, like, that passion that I had kind of for animals as a young kid. Like, I think society and like working in conservation is never seen as a grown-up job. It's always seen as something kids like to do because kids like animals. But I kind of stepped back and went, actually, no, that's what I care about, you know? And that's kind of when I had to take that step back and go, maybe I need to reevaluate a little bit and like try and get into the sector. But yeah, so I don't think there was, or at least I can't put my finger on if there was ever a moment where I went, this is what I need to be doing. But I think the closest thing to that was kind of, when I was, 19, and went kind of, maybe I need to reevaluate to see what's actually going to make me happy. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
No, I think that's like a really good starting point, and it's something that I think everyone goes through, because like I'm the same. I did international relations because I thought, I was told in school, like, you'll make more money. Whoever told me you'll make more money in politics instead of business was wrong. Like, why would you, if you're going to encourage someone to do what they're good at, don't encourage them to do politics. First lesson of the day. But yeah, I'm the same. I got to kind of, through school, doing all these kind of things that were politics or English or kind of history related, and then you get to the end and you think, actually, that's not what I'm truly passionate about, and what you're passionate about is sometimes this underlying conservation thing. And I think that's something to encourage all, if there's people who are still in school listening to this, to kind of think about, is do what you love, not necessarily what you're best at, which might sound like a risky and scary thing to do, but you'll never work a day in your life if you do something you're passionate about. And yeah, I do find it kind of interesting that it wasn't something that you necessarily felt that you loved your whole life, because you seem like the type of person who would have been like really into it the whole time, because you're so passionate about it now. It would make sense to me that you'd loved it your whole life. But
well, yeah, I mean, I still really enjoyed it and loved it while I was off doing psychology at uni. But yeah, it kind of wasn't as all encompassing as it is now. Like, right up until then, up until kind of GCSEs, A levels, I used to like. I had an excellent collection of toy animals. Absolutely loved them, and I would design my own zoos. I'd like use like lollipop sticks to make the enclosure barriers. It was great. Probably not the most like welfare heavy zoos, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just probably such a strange time, isn't it? GCSEs and A levels are never much fun for anyone. I think it's just kind of, I think it was me going, maybe this is. It's something I find interesting. Maybe this is kind of a more viable career than this thing that I enjoy, and so maybe I kind of pursued it that way. But yeah, just taking that step back and actually going, no, this is what I love. This is what's going to make me happier working in this area. Yeah, no, it's probably not going to make me more money than if I went off and became a psychologist, but it's going to make me happier, and it's going to make me have a bigger impact on potentially a wider scale as well. And I think it was things like going to zoos and stuff that impacted that kind of when I was having that epiphany around that time.
And that actually, that leads very nicely into my next question, which is actually kind of to do with that next step of kind of, you're finishing up A levels, you're doing all these things, and then zoos, as you've said, made you fall in love. And I think a lot of people's first step when they do realize this and they're kind of is kind of volunteering and getting involved in that way, and kind of to maybe dip their toe in by volunteering and not fully committing to a job or something, first of all. And I think you have a lot of experience with that from the research I've done. It always sounds so creepy being like, I've researched you before we met. But yeah, so I wondered if you could maybe tell the listeners a little bit about your volunteering experience and what kind of roles you had. It seems like you've had a few, so I don't know if there's ones that you wanted to talk about, or what kind of roles did you have?
Yeah, so before actually getting a job as part of Bristol Zoological Society, I did almost 4 years of volunteering with them, because, as I mentioned, when I kind of had that change of heart and went, I want to get into conservation, I was already halfway through my degree, so I didn't feel like kind of dropping out and starting again. And I'm really glad that I didn't do that, because it has still been so useful to me fulfilling that degree. But I kind of went, well, how am I going to make this change to like conservation when I'm not doing a degree in it? I don't really have any experience in it. It just feels like if I apply for a job, everyone's going to laugh at me and I'm going to go, like, because it is such a competitive field. which is, I mean, we could do an entire other podcast on that in itself. But it just sort of, I kind of went, I need to get some experience. And so I was just looking at Bristol Zoo and found the volunteering page and went, okay, that seems that seems like a good way in. And I've been quite frank, I think it's probably the decision I've made that had the most impact on my life since then, to be fair, because it has been absolutely incredible. Like I said, it's been almost 4 years. Across that time, I've done 3 different volunteer roles over the 2 sites that Bristol Zoological Society operates, so Bristol Zoo and Wild Place. And so I started off doing engagement volunteering. And I think I kind of took the path that most people do, in that I applied to be a keeper volunteer, because that's something we kind of offer that I don't think a lot of zoos actually offer. It means you can actually go in and do all the animal husbandry and help. And so I applied for that and didn't get it the first time round because it is so competitive. There are so many people that apply to it with only a limited number of spaces. And then when they told me there was no availability for that, they said, oh, but we've got this engagement role. It just involves kind of going out, chatting to people, like talking about the animals, being there near enclosures and in walkthroughs and things to make sure, A, that the animals are happy and safe in walkthroughs and things like that, but also to kind of just make sure the guests are having a nice time, have a lovely chat about the animals, tell them something a little bit about conservation, and kind of the messaging behind what a modern zoo is. And just hopefully make their day a little bit better as well. And still, back at this time, you might find it hard to believe, I wasn't very good at talking to people. I absolutely hated talking to people. I was still quite anxious, still quite nervous, and it brought me out of my shell so much because it kind of forced me to do that. Like, it was, I think it was an absolutely excellent opportunity, and it was just really satisfying because you go away and you have a chat with someone, you chat for 20 minutes about, our gorilla troop, and then they go away and you just know that you've made their day better. And it was absolutely brilliant. And it was through things like that, through doing that volunteering, that actually I went, you know what, maybe this is what I want to do. Maybe it's not all about the zookeeping, And so I did eventually go on and do a bit of mammal keeping as well. And it's just as amazing as you think it's going to be. It's absolutely incredible. And I got to see some really amazing, really endangered animals up close and have some really cool interactions with them. So at one point I was hand feeding some pellet to our Livingstone fruit bats, and there's I think there's about 1,200 of them left out in the world, and I'm here going, I'm feeding this animal when there's so few of them out in the wild, and there's very few of them in captivity as well. But I'm here just feeding them a bit of pellet, and it's just, you kind of get those experiences where you go, oh my god, this is amazing. But it's also really hard work. And it kind of went, it's amazing, and I really respect anyone who could do it day after day, because I couldn't, really. It's back-breaking work, and I just don't think I'm cut out for it, to be honest with you. But I think that's one of the really, really crucial benefits of volunteering, is that you can go in, you can dip your toe in so many different aspects and so many different roles, and use it to find out what is right for you. So, I think a lot of people kind of go for the, like me, they go for the role that they want, which was keeper, and then if they don't get that, they're inclined to just go, oh no, I'm going to go look somewhere else then. Where I actually really encourage people to kind of stick with it, and if an organisation is turning you down for the role that you've applied to, doesn't mean that they don't want you, doesn't mean that they don't want you to be part of that organisation in that voluntary capacity. It just means that they don't have space for you at that time in that role. But if they offer you something else, take it, grab it with 2 hands, I think, because it means that you may find yourself absolutely loving something you didn't know you even liked, which is exactly what happened with me. But you also might find that the role that you originally went for opens up a little bit later in time, and being internal, you might stand a little bit better chance at getting that. You might kind of get a bit more priority depending on how the organisation runs, and so you might get a chance to do what you originally wanted and test that out as well.
That's I couldn't agree more. I think there's no harm. The worst thing that happens is you say yes to something, you do a couple shifts, and you realise actually this isn't for me, and you have to very politely then say to the organisation, actually, this isn't quite what I imagined, and then step back. But there's no harm in going along and trying something once, twice, and just seeing how it goes. And then, as you say, you might find something that you love, or you might find something you thought you'd love is actually not quite right for you. And yes, I fully, like, I love talking to people and I love being around animals, but the reason I like being a presenter of these types of things is because it's like getting all the benefits of getting to, like, go and see the animals, and having the best, like, pets in the world. But, like, imagine if you had a dog and it was the best lovely dog, but and it was the best because you also didn't have to, like, pick up the poo, you didn't have to pay for the food, you didn't have to do, like, all the dirty stuff where you have to clean. That's the, like, feeling of, like, I have this amazing privilege, and plus I don't have to do all this extra, like, heavy lifting and stuff. So yes, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting how you said you think it kind of assisted you in kind of finding your place in Bristol Zoo and working out what you wanted to do and what kind of department and stuff. I wondered, it must be fascinating, and I feel like everyone who volunteers or works in zoos has these moments of, like, I love this, or, like, really funny moments, or, like, what are some of your favorite moments from volunteering? Because I feel like, just to extra sell the volunteering stories, we need to tell people, like, what are some of your favorite moments of those experiences? And it's a hard one, I know.
That is a really tricky one, because I mean, it's also you're asking me to remember the past 4 years, and I feel like I can't remember the past 5 minutes most of the time. But it's just, well, it was always great. So one of the places we used to be stationed with as a volunteer was always by the lions, and back when I started, we had our 2 lion brothers, who were hand-reared at Bristol Zoo as well, and they were always quite used to people, and they'd always kind of come up against the glass and, like, be really friendly. Like, I say friendly, but be kind of really interested in the people and things like that. And then you'd always get, every now and then, they'd just do a nice little bit of scent marking, because we've got this lovely mesh. Means you can see the animals really, really well. But it also meant that quite often some of the visitors would go away smelling a little bit too much like lion. And that was always really fun to watch. And then I was also, when we moved those lions on and got our new pair in, I was there when they opened up the door and let one of them into the enclosure for the first time. And that was just on a day that I was volunteering as well, which is fantastic. And so it's just, you kind of get to see those moments. Like, not everyone as a visitor gets to see. You kind of, if you know something's going on, you can head on in. And, like, my favourites were the tapirs, which I know you've got a soft spot for as well.
Yeah.
And so we moved our tapirs on at one point, probably back in 2019, I think it was, and we moved them onto a new collection. And this was when I was doing my mammal keeping as well. So I'd already been able to, like, look after them and do a bit of the husbandry with them. So I had quite a nice relationship with them, I think, and had already had that experience. And then as soon as I heard that as they were going, I kind of asked around. I was able to actually go and see them get loaded up onto the truck and kind of help in the movement of those animals into their horse box to get moved away, which just kind of felt like a
traumatizing. Traumatizing.
I mean, it was heartbreaking, but it was also, it just kind of felt like a nice bookend to that kind of experience. In that I'd started, and when I started, they asked me what section I'd rather be on, and I said, I'll go on Hoofstock. I'll go with the tapirs if you don't mind. And so they were always, like, really nice and kind of let me, like, have as much experience with the tapirs as possible before they moved on. And yeah, just to kind of get to see them go off nice and happily, it's just a really nice little end to that kind of experience with them. So yeah, I think that was probably my favourite moment, I think. And again, it's just a really cool experience to kind of get firsthand, like, see firsthand how those moves happen and how you get this, £250 animal to kind of move along into a horse box when, just using, like, a piece of wood, and it's like, you're, at the moment you're there going, oh, this seems like you need more than this. It feels like this fit, but it just went really well, and it was just so nice to watch.
That's fantastic, and yes, we do have a shared love of tapirs. And I'll tease for the listeners, if I've not released it yet, there is a very exciting guest coming up very, very soon who's going to be talking all about that. So yes, look forward to that. If you don't know what a tapir is, you will learn a lot about them. So yes, make sure and tune back in for that one. But yeah, that was really fascinating, and something that made me laugh actually was kind of when you were talking about, they asked you what section you would want to be on and like what you would want to work with, because this is a question I ask people all the time, and they look at me like, this isn't a question for normal people. Like, I don't know the different sections of a zoo, Jack. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I think I'm a hoofstock person. Or maybe birds. Or maybe reptiles. Or maybe this. Or maybe that. So I appreciated that you've been asked this and actually had to pick. I asked my co-host of Rizoo, the Zoo Review podcast, which I have to say it all at once because it's now a compulsive thing. Jodie this question once, and she was like, what are you... No, Jack. Well, I think I texted to her about 10 o'clock at night being like, I've just thought of this and I need to know your answer. And yeah, so it's nice that you got asked and you actually got to do something with that information instead of just pestering your friends. But yes, before we go down a tapir hole of just talking about that, that sounded so wrong. That was not, listeners, I'm so sorry. That is not what I meant. Before we go down a tapir hole, let's perhaps move on. And we've talked a lot about how this has kind of helped you find what you wanted to do, and kind of your role at Bristol Zoo, your volunteering role at Bristol Zoo has kind of helped you work out what you want to do, and how this kind of helped you perhaps land in the job at Bristol Zoo that you have now. What is it you do now? And could you tell the listeners a little bit more about that? We mentioned it at the start, and I'm not going to try and remember because I've already messed up the job title. Behind the scenes, listeners, I've already messed up the job title several times off air. But your job, what is your job, and what is it you do now at Bristol?
Yeah, so I'm an engagement and learning presenter, which I always forget. I always get it the wrong way around as well. I'm always like, I'm a learning and engagement presenter. I kind of change around every single time I say it. But it basically means that I do kind of any of the talky bits that you see around the zoo. So if you go to one of the enclosures and there's somebody doing a talk about meerkats, that's kind of me and my team. And we also do our school workshops. So every time we have an educational class trip in, we do different workshops in the classrooms that we've got on site, and just chat about our animals and kind of put that into the context of the curriculum and kind of just help build on that knowledge and kind of accentuate the lessons that they're learning in school by giving them a really, really fun day out, and also quite hopefully an educational experience, and showing them some of the animals we work with as well. So we kind of tend to do a bit of classroom work, a bit of animal handling. We've got a nice little animal collection at Bristol Zoo, and then we take them out into the zoo sometimes and just show them around a little bit. Which is it's really, really lovely, to be honest with you. It's just really...
It's just a good time.
Yeah, it's absolutely great time. It's one of those jobs that it doesn't feel like work. It never feels like work, because they're going, I'm getting paid to stand here, talk about these animals. And it's just like, I do this for 3.5 years, I did this for free. And now I'm getting paid to do it. It's really wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And yes, I think people thought I was strange during uni because I worked at an aquarium at the weekends. And I'd be like, that's actually the bit I enjoy more than anything else of my week, because I'm not writing essays, it's not stressful, it's just talking to people about fish. Like, and I could talk to people about fish for a very long time, so it's actually like, it's, yeah, the fantastic best thing to do. And yeah, I completely I completely relate to the feeling. I wondered, you mentioned kind of some of the things you do. For me, when I used to work in things, I always had those handling animals, or the animals that you would interact with when you were doing these talks and things, that were like your favourites, your like special, like, this is the animal I like to present with. I had Jack the bearded dragon. Mm-hmm. We were both Jack, so it was very very confusing for people, but I got a couple laughs every time I made the same joke about it. So what about you? Do you have what are your favourite things? Like, what are your favourite presentation animals? What are your favourite presentations to give in that role? Like, could you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so I've not actually used many of the presentation animals yet, because we've only just kind of started doing school sessions, because I've only been in the role since November, so only a few months. But but I did my first animal handling session with the students earlier this week, actually, and got out the classic zoo handling animal. I got out Madagascan hissing cockroaches.
I hate Madagascan hissing cockroaches so much. They're just like, no. Please go on, but like, no. Yep.
And just getting all the kids to handle them, it's absolute chaos. It's absolute chaos.
That's why.
It's brilliant because every time you pick one up, it hisses at them, and all the really brave kids that wanted to hold them hear the hissing, and they're like, I immediately don't want to hold this anymore. It's a great time. So I really, really enjoyed that. I am really looking forward to. We're currently building up. We've got a new set of rats, and we're just kind of building them up to kind of be good with people and useful for sessions. So I'm really excited for those because they are absolutely adorable. Are you not a fan?
I mean, it's not that I have anything against rats. I just feel like they would have the similar kind of like kamikaze effect of like the cockroaches, where like they will do what they want to do.
Oh yeah.
I've had it before where like I've been handling a cockroach, and I'll not say which place I worked at did this. It just launched itself at a child. Like it was sat perfectly still, and then they just do whatever they want. They just launch themselves. And I feel like rats would be a similar kind of lack of respect. They just don't care. They just do whatever the heck they want type of vibe. Is that not the case? Am I wrong?
Oh no, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. But I love that. I love the chaos. I thrive on it because mainly because I'm such a chaotic person in general that it fits with my vibe. In terms of like presentations and talks around the zoo, I really love the red pandas because, especially because recently they've just been in their breeding period. So literally every time I did the talk for about 2 weeks, they were going at it, which just. Honestly, it was so you're just like going to a huge family audience is going, oh yeah, these are our red pandas, and they were like, what are they doing? I'm like, nothing. Do you ask your parents that? Maybe. It's absolutely brilliant. Also had giant tortoises because they're just so friendly. They're just so lovely. Like half of them used to be pets, so they're really people oriented. So as soon as you start talking, they're like up at the glass looking at you. Absolutely wonderful.
I love that. I love that. I saw the pictures that you posted of yourself with the tortoises, and I was like, I want those in my life. I just like so cute. Such a good choice. Yeah, absolutely. Like fantastic. And yeah, I can see why. Yeah, the red pandas are so cute. So cute. So you'd never imagine them being quite as chaotic as that. But then there you go. Every animal is not quite what you expect it to be. No, that's really, really fascinating and really, really interesting and kind of hilarious to hear about. And yeah, I guess before we kind of move on to talking about Chester and all that sort of stuff that you're doing there with the youth board, something I wanted to ask about actually is to do with Bristol and the people in the UK. I don't know if it's made it international news yet, but all over the news in the UK recently has been that Bristol Zoo, after a very, very, very long time, is unfortunately the original site is closing, and there's all sorts of work going on with the other site, the Wild Place, and so I wondered if you could tell the listeners a little bit about that, and yeah, what's happening and what the process is going to be, and yeah, whatever you know and want to talk about really there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's a really, really exciting time actually, because it's exciting and really bittersweet as well, because we're the oldest zoo in the world outside of a capital city, 5th oldest zoo overall, and actually the first facility that used zoo as a shortened version of zoological collection. So we're kind of the original zoo. And yeah, we've been open for 186 years. But unfortunately, our Clifton site will be closing purely because, I mean, it's 12 acres. It's in the middle of a bustling city like Bristol, which it's a really historic, really iconic site, but it just kind of doesn't provide us with the opportunities and the potential for improvement that we need to see in a modern zoo. So we need to be able to provide the best facilities for our animals, and doing that in that Clifton site just prevents too many obstacles. But luckily, we've got our Wild Place site, which is just out kind of on the edges of Bristol, up near Cribbs Causeway, which is kind of the big shopping centre. is kind of around the corner from there on this huge plot of about 135 acres of land. So in comparison, it's infinitely bigger. And it just has so much more potential. It's got this wonderful landscape, this amazing ancient British woodland, which we've recently launched Bearwood in. So a habitat for wolves and bears in a shared habitat, with lynx and wolverine in separate enclosures as well, all down in this this natural British woodland, just like you would have seen a few thousand years ago. And so that was our newest build that we opened a couple of years ago. And that's the kind of quality we want to be seeing in all of our enclosures that we can provide for all of our animals. And so moving to Wild Place was kind of, I feel like it was a decision that was going to happen sooner or later anyway, as kind of zoo welfare and the expectations of a modern zoo, especially in the light of kind of increasing anti-zoo sentiment as well, which has been kind of on the increase over the past couple of years. I think it was a natural decision that was going to be made, but it's just been like fast forwarded a little bit because of coronavirus and the implications of the reduced income and reduced travel and tourism and things like that. But yes, so we will be shutting down Bristol Zoo from September the 3rd, which is what got all the news coverage this week, it's really, really sad, but it does mean that we can provide this excellent facility later in the future. So from 2024, what is now Wild Place Project will become Bristol Zoo, or the new Bristol Zoo, and we'll be taking some of our animals from the current site, moving them over there into new, like brand new purpose-built facilities that will just really, really increase their welfare and be absolutely excellent as a visitor experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I couldn't agree more in that now is the time for conservation and animal welfare, and all of these things have to be at the heart of zoos. And even if it's sad to kind of move and lose what was kind of a very historic place, like I'd seen the other day about, I think you were given a tourism award for 186 years of service of like being such a big attraction. So but it does make sense to, in this time, to move to somewhere where you can develop and move in the way that you want to be moving. So yeah, it's really, really interesting, and I'll be really interested to go. I think I'm going to go down to Bristol Zoo later this year, and then I'll be back in 2024 to visit the Wild Place. And yeah, I'll go to Bristol Zoo later this year. I'll go to both of them this year, and then I'll have a comparison in 2024 of how much it's changed. And yeah, if the friends who are living in Bristol right now are listening to this before I come down, we are going to Bristol Zoo. So sorry if this is the first you're hearing about it, but we will be going. And yeah, so it all makes perfect sense, and yeah, really interesting to hear. But book your tickets now if you live near there, or even if you don't live near there, go and support them, and yeah, go and have a look while you can. Go and see Connor in his element talking about meerkats and etc. So yes, that's fantastic. I wondered, I'm looking at the time, and we're about 40 minutes into this recording. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to split this into two. What we're going to do is, I think we're going to have this episode come out one week, and next week Connor will be back to talk about Chester. But obviously there's a couple questions at the end of every episode I like to ask, and I think because we spent the whole time talking about Bristol Zoo, they fit equally as good here as they do at the end of the next episode as well. So what I'd like to do now is ask those questions, and then you'll be asked them again in the context of Chester Zoo next week. And the first question I have to ask is, of course, at Bristol Zoo or at the Wild Place. You could go rogue and pick one from there, but what is the underappreciated animal? The animal that visitors maybe walk past, they don't look at on the map, and they just kind of are like, oh, okay, like we've seen one of those, we don't really know what it is, we don't really care, whatever it is. What is that at Bristol Zoo for you? Which animal would you like to shine the spotlight on?
It's a really tough one, but I'm going to go a bit rogue here. I feel like people might. I really love Desertas wolf spiders.
That's very rogue.
Exactly. See, it's really, really rogue. And your face then just said, absolutely not. No. Why? That's not what I was expecting. But they're so cool. And they're actually incredibly endangered. So they've got out on this island Desertas, where they're found in the wild. they're being outcompeted by grasses, which sounds a bit strange, but they're being outcompeted by grasses that are kind of taking away their habitat. So they live like in rocky outcroppings and kind of in burrows, and because of this invasive species of grass, that habitat is less available to them. And so we've got this incredible facility for breeding these Desertas wolf spiders at Bristol Zoo. And as you walk through our bug world habitat, you can actually see that. I see the behind the scenes room where we kind of breed these Desertas wolf spiders, and it's a little bit crazy because you see they're going these little Tupperware boxes with a bit of soil and a little bit of kind of, and you go, oh, that's a bit weird. Why have they got? And then you look closer and you can see one of these spiders in them. And I mean, as far as spiders go, they're really pretty. Like they've got this black body, but like they're almost striped. They've got these white markings on. Again, for anyone listening that's afraid of spiders, this is probably an absolute nightmare. But they're just really incredible. And our curator of ectotherms is the stud bookkeeper for them as well, and is kind of one of the leading experts on Desertas wolf spiders. And so we're just really kind of pushing forward to work with these spiders, and have done an amazing job kind of breeding them and releasing, and hoping to release them to the wild as well. And it's just one that everyone walks past and just kind of, they speed up as they walk past because they go, oh god, there's spiders in there. But they've actually got a really amazing story behind them. But yeah, that's my really rogue underrated species.
No, I think that's fantastic. Like, because sometimes, I've asked everybody this series who's worked in a zoo this same question, and we've had an odd selection so far. We've had gibbons, we've had penguins, which was a bit rogue because I thought they were represented, but when Lizzie spoke about them, they were a lot less understood than I realised. And we've had rhinos. And I was like, okay, so we've had lots of big mammals, we've had apes, we've had birds, so it's nice to have a little represented. It's telling me a lot about you that your favourite animals that we've mentioned so far are rats, cockroaches and spiders. You must come alive at Halloween. It must be a really special time of the year for you. But fascinating nonetheless. A really good, it's the same. I feel like working at Edinburgh, we have the little partula snails, and it's a similar thing where people like snails or spiders or these littler things, they don't necessarily stop and look. So really fascinating. Great to hear about them. Fantastic. And if you could send me a picture of them, I will post it on social media for everyone to see what they look like. My next question, which I ask at the end of every episode, and you will be asked again in context to Chester, don't you worry. So if you've not prepared 2 answers, you're going to have to. And is, if someone has, I guess, in terms of, we've talked a lot about volunteering this first episode, and if someone has kind of an ambition, or if you could give them one piece of advice to do with conservation or volunteering or whatever it would be, what would the one piece of advice you'd give to a young person to do with the volunteering side?
I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is take advantage of everything that volunteering offers you. So if you get a chance to try out a different role that isn't the one you initially wanted, or something else has come up, or something that's not necessarily within your volunteering role but you've been asked to help out for, absolutely take it. And loads of organisations that offer volunteering opportunities often provide things like talks or social groups that you can meet up and kind of do some volunteering, but do it in a bigger group than you may normally get involved with. Like, for example, at Bristol Zoo, we did enrichment making workshops. So you go there on a lovely summer's evening, and then it was the volunteers, keepers, anyone from around the organisation that wanted to join in, coming in just making... I remember we made like paper mache rhinos to give to the lions, and things like that. And it's an excellent opportunity for networking, for increasing your knowledge of what certain people do or what an organisation is doing that you might not necessarily see. So something that's going on behind the scenes but is working to advance the organisation and its causes. It's just an excellent opportunity to kind of get to grips with so many aspects of wherever it is you're volunteering. Just absolutely any opportunity. And never be put off by the commitment that you think volunteering is going to be, because often they put out adverts for one person to do something on a weekly basis. But but organisations understand that people have lives, especially young people. Especially young people who have school or university, or they're having to do a job to kind of keep themselves afloat. They're understanding of that, so it's always worth explaining your situation and seeing if there's anything that they can do to accommodate that. So I mean, I started at Bristol Zoo on a weekly basis, but then like over the few years I was there, I moved through a couple of other jobs that were mainly in visitor experience. So things like at half term where I worked was really, really busy, so I kind of had to take a step back from the zoo. And it's when they're really busy as well, so they could have really used my help as a volunteer, but they were happy to say, no, you know what, we know that you're really busy, we know that you don't have the capacity to do this at the moment, take a step back and we'll see you when you can come back, sort of thing. So for the past couple of years, I've taken the whole 6 weeks holidays off from volunteering because I needed to focus on my actual job at the time. And so don't let that be a barrier, because I think organisations can be really, really accommodating of it if you just kind of explain and say, this is what my life looks like, this is what I can commit to or what I need to work around, and chances are they will be able to accommodate that in some form, and they'll be open to kind of a compromise, because at the end of the day they're asking for volunteers for a reason, and they really want people to do it, and they know that it is completely your own time that you're using up, and so you need to be doing it in a way that works around you and make sure that you're not doing too much, you're burning yourself out or anything like that. And I've always found that volunteer coordinators or volunteer managers have been really understanding of that. So I think, those are my two big pieces of advice. Take advantage of everything that you get offered, and don't be afraid of commitment. Don't think that you have to commit to everything that the organisation wants initially. If that doesn't work for you, have a conversation about it and see if you can work something out.
That's, perfect, fantastic advice, I think, for everyone listening. And I think, a fantastic piece of advice to leave on, because, hopefully you're all feeling very inspired. I'm sat here going, yes, and like nodding silently in the background, like, so that's perfect advice. And yes, the perfect thing to leave on. I guess that kind of brings us to the end of this first episode with you, Connor. Before we go, if anyone's interested in learning more about Bristol Zoo or any of the things that you do, is there a website they should go to, or should I just pop it all down in the description and they can go down there and find it? What would be the best thing for them to do, or what should they look up?
So look up Bristol Zoo or Wild Place. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got Twitter, and we've got our website, which is bristolzoo.org.uk, I think. Or wildplace.org.uk, and all the information about what's going on currently. We've got a really exciting rest of the year up until September planned at the Bristol Zoo site to kind of really celebrate massive history, and kind of go out in a really big celebration of everything that Bristol Zoo has been over the years. And all of that information, when it's available, will be up on our socials and our website. And of course, come and check out Wild Place too. We've got a really exciting things lining up as well, especially in the run up to 2024 when we reopen as the new Bristol Zoo.
That's fantastic. And yes, I'll pop links to all of those things down in the description for this episode. If anyone's interested, go down, buy tickets, go and see them, go and give Connor a fright and run up behind him and say hello, and say yes. And that kind of brings me, I guess, to the end. It's come around so quickly, but we will be back, as I say, next week for more of Connor. But to discuss the Chester Zoo Youth Board in depth. So if you're interested in that and even more ways that youth can be represented within conservation, make sure and tune back in for that. Until then, thank you very much, Connor, for joining me. Thank you so much to everybody for listening. You can find Pangolin on all social medias. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all over the place. We should make a TikTok too, but we're not going to do that because I'm not doing dancing. We're all over the place. Search at Pangolin Podcast and you can follow us on all of those. You can also subscribe to us on your podcast streaming service of choice, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss out. And yes, I suppose, once again, thank you so much for joining me, Connor. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.